This is the story of how a small-town Alabama police chief lost his position after being arrested for aggravated assault in Nashville, Tennessee. Stephen Malone resigned as police chief of Collinsville, Alabama on February 3, 2026, just days after being charged with a serious felony that shocked the quiet community of just over 2,000 residents. At 32 years old, Malone took over as Collinsville's police chief in September 2025, and the appointment seemed routine enough at the time. Two other Alabama towns had already employed him as police chief, Ider and Powell, which made him look like just another career law enforcement officer moving through small-town departments in the northeastern part of the state. Everything changed in the early morning hours of Sunday, February 1, 2026, when Malone found himself at his girlfriend's home on 12th Avenue South in Nashville around 3 a.m. A verbal argument over alleged cheating quickly escalated into violence, and that's when things turned criminal. Metro Nashville police filed an arrest affidavit stating that Malone began to hammer-strike the victim in the face with his closed fist, and he also allegedly grabbed her by the throat and slammed her down multiple times. Investigators arrived to document the evidence, finding visible scratches on the victim's neck, bruising on her knees, and bruising on her cheek. Savannah Riley, later identified as the victim, told police she had scratched Malone in self-defense during the attack, which explained the small scratch investigators noted on the side of his nose. Both Malone and Riley were initially uncooperative with investigators, but the details eventually emerged. What Malone told police revealed a lot about his mindset that night. He kept repeating that the victim was drunk, needed help, and that he did not want to get her in trouble, which is a classic deflection strategy. Once he finally agreed to speak with investigators, his story shifted to claim that Riley had attacked him and broken his necklace, and he admitted he was mad when she broke it, but he never explained how Riley ended up with her injuries. The affidavit lays it out plainly. Due to the victim's statements aligning with injuries and observations, the defendant was determined to be the primary aggressor. Sunday evening at 8:17 p.m., Malone was booked into the downtown Nashville Detention Center and charged with aggravated assault by strangulation, a Class C felony in Tennessee that carries real weight. Tennessee law defines strangulation as intentionally or knowingly impeding normal breathing or circulation of blood by applying pressure to the throat or neck. And here's the thing, it doesn't require visible injury and it doesn't require intent to kill. 3 to 15 years in prison await if he's convicted, along with a fine reaching up to $10,000. $20,000 in bond money got him released the following evening, and 2 days later, on February 3rd, he resigned as Collinsville's police chief. Mayor Jeff Chandler announced the resignation and named Jeremy Pinegar as interim chief, which meant a 4-month tenure ended just like that. Research has documented a troubling pattern for decades, and this case fits right into it. Domestic violence rates in law enforcement families run significantly higher than the general population, with a study by NIDIG finding that 28% of male officers reported domestic violence perpetration, compared to 16% in the general population. Older research from the early 1990s found even higher rates, with around 40% of officers reporting violent behavior towards spouses or children. Prosecuting these cases comes with challenges that make conviction rates drop dramatically. Victims often fear reporting because the perpetrator has connections with responding officers, which creates a chilling effect on accountability. A San Diego study found that 92% of general domestic violence cases were prosecuted, but that number plummeted to just 42% involving police officers. Back in 1994, 45% of police departments surveyed had no specific policy for handling officer-involved domestic violence, leaving victims with nowhere to turn. The International Association of Chiefs of Police created a model policy recommending zero tolerance for officer-involved domestic violence, but only 10 states have implemented it with specific protocols. Federal law does step in at one point through the Lautenberg Amendment, which prohibits anyone convicted of domestic violence from possessing firearms and effectively ends a law enforcement career. Collinsville sits in DeKalb County as a small town of about 2,000 people, where 84% of voters supported Donald Trump in 2020, and the median household income hovers just under $38,000. Everyone knows the police chief in a place like that, and this kind of arrest sends shockwaves through the entire community. Malone's court date was scheduled for February 10, 2026 as of early February, with the criminal case still pending in Nashville. Jeremy Pinegar now runs the Collinsville Police Department as interim chief, while a small Alabama town grapples with the reality that the man tasked with protecting their community has been accused of violence himself. What happened when a police chief's personal life collided with the law he swore to uphold serves as a reminder that badges don't grant immunity, and accountability can still arrive even when it's delayed.